Welcome to your next math lesson. Today's lesson is add like fractions. So please open to the next available page in your math notebook, and at the top of that page, write the title of today's lesson, which again is add like fractions. Remember that like fractions are fractions that have the same denominator. And so today we're learning how to add fractions like that, like fractions with the same denominator. We're learning how to add them together. When you're adding like fractions, all you have to do is follow these 3 steps. Step 1 is add the numerators. Okay. Step 2, leave the denominators the same. And step 3 is simplify. Add the numerators, leave the denominators the same, and then simplify. Let's look at a couple examples together so you can see what I'm talking about here. Let's say we had to add 1/6 plus 1/6. Step 1 is add the numerator. So the numerator of a fraction is the top number. So the numerators of 1/6 and 1/6 are the two ones. Those are the top numbers of both fractions. So we add those ones together. 1 plus 1 equals 2. Leave the denominators the same. So we don't add 6 to 6 and get 12. The 6 stays the same. And then step 3 is simplify. So simplify means put the answer in simplest form. And you already learned how to do that last chapter. In order to put 2/6 in simplest form, we list the factors for the numerator and denominator. The factors of 2 are 1 and 2. The factors of 6 are 1, 2, 3, and 6. We pick the GCF, the greatest common factor. That's the largest number that's in both lists. And what do we do with that GCF? By the way, 2 is the GCF because it's the largest number that's in this list and this list. What do we do with it? We divide the numerator and denominator by the GCF. So 2 divided by 2 is 1. 6 divided by 2 is 3. So that's the final answer. 1/6 plus 1/6 equals 1/3. Let's do another example together. Let's say we had to add 5/8 plus 3/8. Step 1 is add the numerators. That's the top number in the fraction. So we add 5 plus 3 and we get 8. Step 2 is leave the denominators the same. So we don't add 8 to 8. We just carry them over. The denominator stays the same. And then step 3 is simplify. Now this might be something that you don't know yet. This is a really easy one to simplify because when the numerator and the denominator are the same number, the fraction always simplifies to 1. And that makes sense because this is an example of an improper fraction. The fraction is improper anytime the numerator isn't smaller than the denominator. Since 8 isn't smaller than 8, we change it into either a whole or mixed number by dividing the denominator into the numerator. So that would look like this. And 8 can fit into 8 one time. So anytime you have a fraction where the numerator is the same as the denominator, it simplifies to 1. Let's do another example. Let's do 2/9 plus 3/9. Okay, we add the numerators. 2 plus 3 is 5. leave the denominator the same. The denominator stays 9. So the answer is 5/9. Step 3 is simplify. Now this is already in simplest form, but let's say you can't tell whether or not it's in simplest form. If you can't tell, just try to simplify it. And watch what happens when you try to simplify 5/9. You list the factors of 5. It's just 1 and 5 because 5 is a prime number. You list the factors of 9, 1, 3, and 9, and look what happens when you try to find the GCF, or the greatest common factor. The GCF is 1. When the GCF is 1, the fraction is already in simplest form. So that's the answer, 5/9. Let's do another one. Let's do 4/7 plus 2/7. Step 1, add the numerators. 4 plus 2 is 6. Step 2, leave the denominators the same. 4/7 plus 2/7, the 7 stays the same. Step 3, simplify. 6/7 is already in simplest form, and that's because the greatest common factor for 6 and 7 is 1. Watch what happens when we try to simplify it. We list the factors of 6, which are 1, 2, 3, and 6, because 1 times 6 is 6, and 2 times 3 is 6. Then we list the factors of 7, which are 1 and 7, because only 1 times 7 equals 7. And the greatest common factor is 1. Anytime the greatest common factor between the numerator and the denominator is 1, it's already in simplest form. Okay, let's do another example. Let's do 2/6 plus 2/6. Step 1, now you can't see the steps anymore because I had to scroll down past where I wrote the 3 steps, but you should have them written down on your own, inside of your own math notebook. So step 1 is add the numerators. 2 plus 2 is 4. Step 2, leave the denominators the same, so it stays 6. And step 3 is simplify. Now, 4 and 6, 4/6 can be simplified because 4 and 6 will have a greatest common factor above 1. And in order to find out what that greatest common factor is, you list the factors of 4, which are 1, 2, and 4, because 1 times 4 is 4, and 2 times 2 is 4. Those are the only numbers you can multiply together to 2 equal 4. And then you list the factors of 6, which are 1, 2, 3, and 6, because 1 times 6 is 6, and 2 times 3 is 6. And you circle the greatest common factor, which is 2. That's the biggest number that's in both lists. What do you do with that greatest common factor? You divide the numerator and denominator by the greatest common factor. So 4 divided by 2 is 2, and 6 divided by 2 is 3. So 2/6 plus 2/6 is 2/3. Let's do another example. Let's do 2/10 plus 5/10 equals. Step 1 is add the numerators. 2 plus 5 is 7. The denominator stays the same, so it stays 10. The answer is 7/10, and that's already in simplest form because 7 and 10 won't have any common factors other than 1. And just to show you, if we list the factors of 7, it's 1 and 7. If we list the factors of 10, it's 1, 2, 5, and 10. See how the largest number in both lists, in fact, the only number that's in both lists, is 1. So 1 is the greatest common factor between 7 and 10. That's how you know 7/10 is already in simplest form. And for your independent work today, I will give you 3 problems. I want you to do 3/8 plus 1/8. Go ahead and solve that one. Then solve 3/4 plus 1/4. And solve 4/9 plus 5/9. Go ahead and solve those independently inside your math notebook, and then click on the video attached under this one to see if you did it correctly. And I will see you there. Signing off.